Three words I never thought I would find myself saying. Thank you, Purdue. Welcome to the Social Spreader. Hope you had some good luck over the weekend. But thank you so much, Purdue. It's always a very happy day in my life whenever Purdue or Wisconsin gets all but eliminated from the college football playoff, because I think I speak for a lot of football fans when I say we're kind of sick and tired of seeing that same story play out almost every year. I get it. That conference has Ohio State, but that's Ohio State. I truly feel like they are such a league above everyone else within their own league that it's always a fun day whenever I realize that I don't have to worry about Alabama or Georgia. Or Clemson, and obviously not this year, but any of those types of teams absolutely pummeling a Michigan State or a Wisconsin or an Iowa in the college football playoff. So, once again, thank you, Purdue, the spoiler makers. So, I wanted to start here today because with Aaron Rodgers and what he did, and I'm not going to make any qualms at all. He is the most talented quarterback I have ever seen. I know that there's people that are up and coming. There always is. And I know that in a team sport, we like to try to at least compartmentalize one player's greatness simply because their team does well. Now, I'm not taking anything away from Tom Brady because what he did last year after leaving the Patriots is all that we needed to see in terms of how great he is and how great he was throughout that whole run. 20 years, the two Hall of Fame careers that he has. But I was tickled to death when I heard the post-game interview with Aaron Rodgers when he says, well, I didn't even know that there was a camera there. I didn't even know that there was a microphone there, when he literally looked into the camera. When he literally looked into the camera and said what he said. Now, according to reports, he said there was a woman giving him the double bird. And I do believe I have this right, that Aaron Rodgers that might be the last time he plays in Soldier Field, depending upon what happens after the season. But he's 22-5 against the Bears. And I do believe, and I want to check to make sure that I have this stat correct, under Matt LaFleur with Aaron Rodgers starting against the AFC North, the Packers are 12-1. And from a sports handicapping and gambling standpoint, you're probably not going to get as much of a payout as you'd like if you just do the money line for the Packers every time. But cash and tickets is what it's all about, to quote the great Brent Musburger and the network that he has, the Vegas Sports and Information Network. Huge fan. Would love to get attached to them in one way or another. But as I was, you always hear at the end of the games, it's mind blowing to me how many how many professional coaches can talk for almost an hour and not say a goddamn thing. And one of the things that I've always enjoyed is what kind of a game was this? And so I decided to make a top 5 types of games. All right, so. The first game, you know what? I'm going to go from 5 to 1. So 5 is the prove it game. You've got a team that's been having a good season, and now they're playing a team that they should beat. So prove it. Prove it to me. Point in case, Arizona Cardinals are playing the Houston Texans this Sunday. They're favored, the line opened at 14. They're now favored by 17. The Sharps move that. So prove it. Houston just went down, 31-3, 38-3 against the Colts, and now this is going to be their second road game in a row, playing a team that's got DeAndre Hopkins and J.J. Watt. Now, do they fall victim to the classic look-ahead game? Oh, that's not on the list. Prove-it game, look-ahead game. The Cardinals have the Green Bay Packers and Aaron Rodgers coming on Thursday night. So not this Thursday, but next one. So do they get caught up in the look-ahead game? Because the Texans, as a 17-point favorite coming into town, the only thing that I can say is that I would hope they want to do it for DeAndre, and they also want to do it for Watt as well, that they just want to pummel these guys. That if they can score, that if Houston can only score 3 against the Colts, it should be pretty close with that, just because I do think the Cardinals' defense is heavily underappreciated so far this year. So they've been doing great. Number 4, the measuring stick game. That is something that I find just hilarious whenever a coach goes up in front of a microphone and cameras and says, this is a classic measuring stick game. We really found out what we're made of. Is that a game too? The what we're made of game? I don't know. But what I really love about the measuring stick is, what are we measuring? What exactly are we measuring? Now, be careful with that answer, Coach. It is the most cliche thing to say that this was a good measuring stick game to see how we measure up against whoever it is. Anyway, number 3, the litmus test. I don't know what the difference is between the measuring stick and the litmus test. Can you use the measuring stick to grade higher on the litmus test? I don't know. But, this was a good litmus test for our team. We really found out what we're made of. I love the cliches of these old guys just saying absolutely nothing while talking for 30 minutes. Now, number 2 and number 1, I do think have some kind of merit. And you will hear this kind of often within the context of, either post-game interview or something like that. Number 2, the who's game. If you've got 2 teams that are really good within the conference or in their division, or maybe it's like a matchup of the top teams in the AFC or the NFC, I'm just always really confused as to what the qualifications is of who's who. What are we talking about here? So who's who? Like who's the cream of the crop, or who's just good in the AFC? But it's, again, I'm always tickled to death to see some guy come up there. Well, this was a who's who game, and we found out who we were. So that's good. Number 1, the do or die. That's when you hear the classic sounds of we had our backs up against the wall. I like how we responded. As Mike Tomlin always likes to say, we didn't blink, and then he usually goes splash. But those right there are my top 5 types of games. You can find them in any sport, but just because we're really neck deep right now into the football season, it's just really kind of funny to see that. The other thing too that I found funny would be a stretch. It's really the wrong word. I guess when you see something, sometimes our natural human reaction is just to be like, huh. Like, it's kind of a scoff laugh. It's kind of a like, you got to be kidding me laugh. And it's just an expression of emotion that we feel whenever there's a knee-jerk reaction to something that we hear. And I want to talk a little bit about Ed Orgeron and what has happened down there in the Bayou. And since over the last 18 months, of all the things that this country has proved, one thing that it has proven to me is that it loves to do its own research. So you can do your own investigating about the reports that are coming out of Baton Rouge as to why Ed Orgeron, with inside of 2 years of perhaps putting the greatest college football team that I've ever seen on a field, is now going to be no longer with the program. And again, I have never seen a program move so much inside of 2 years. And we all saw in a very maybe jarring way over the last 18 months, we saw how the greed of amateurism, I do love that college sports is cloaked in amateurism, how important it is to get to the dollars, how important it was to have these games aired, the TV money. And look, I understand that it's very important for these kids to play. It's something that they're very passionate about. There's economies that are surrounding a lot of these teams, and for the most part, the majority of college towns are smaller towns, and so the town is very reliant on that. But as we see what's going to take shape over the next 2 to 3 years, I know that they're voting on it in the next couple of months in terms of the expanded playoff, and that we've seen the SEC has now firmly has firmly placed itself as the minor leagues for the NFL. And when you see teams such as, draped in history, like Oklahoma and Texas, that are saying, you know what, we're going to go over there because we see the shift in power in terms of where the money is. Follow the money is a saying that a lot of people, myself included, has always really kind of found accurate when it comes to college sports. Again, cloaked in amateurism, where instead of losing to Oklahoma State, Texas is going to lose to Mississippi, Texas A&M, LSU, Florida, depending upon what kind of a schedule that they get. And they're like, no, we don't care. Yeah, we've lost to TCU, 8 out of the last 10 years. We just shit the bed against Oklahoma, and we lost to Oklahoma State. And so, but they are somehow the most profitable, or they have the highest amount of money within their program in the country. It just a lot of the just how the structure is really changing with the name and likeness and what these college athletes now have the ability to do with their own brand, with their own future, and really having more of a say in where they go, which is the right thing to do. There, I said it. And so when I see such a, in one of the flagship programs of the SEC, the Alabama Crimson Tide have put the bar so high that winning a national championship and then essentially being a 500 coach after that isn't enough anymore. That it's almost like you have to sustain something that may or may not even be feasible, because as we've shown, and now I understand that A&M just beat Alabama. Alabama has a Texas A&M problem. I don't know what it is, so I do aspire to the thought that anybody can win on any given Saturday or any given Sunday. However, the proof is I don't know how any program within the SEC can feasibly say, hey, because of your performance on the field, we're going to get rid of you because you can't keep up with them. Nobody can. No one in the country can. This is an unprecedented thing that we are seeing from the University of Alabama. And again, thank you, Purdue. They're going to be third now. And with the expanded playoff, they're going to be ranked third now. So if we go off of right now, with the expanded playoff, I know they're voting on it, I think in the next couple months. The SEC, from what I've seen reported, when that gets expanded, it's going to be 17 million-ish to each conference for every team that they have in. And the SEC, whether it's a 6-team, an 8-team, or a 10-team, and there's various reports of how many teams are going to be within the expanded playoff, the SEC's got to be going, whoa. So Georgia and Alabama are already in pretty much every year, if not every other year. So there's 2. So there's 34 million. And if we can get another 2 that are going to be just as good, you're telling me because Texas and Oklahoma are now moving over here that a 2-loss team within our conference is going to get our conference another 17 million because they're going to get more votes than a 1-loss Iowa or a 1-loss Penn State. I just whether it's feasible or not for any other program to sustain that kind of winning is obviously we'll see. We don't know anything if this year has proven anything. Even experts that are sitting at about 46% within their picks is this year has been fun and it's been really, really challenging. But to kind of that's like where we've arrived. We've arrived here in college football where one team and one program and one school has set the bar so high that the greed to win and the greed to make money we've rarely seen them strip so bare in front of us that take a guess as to what name is going to constantly now come up in the searches of coaches for LSU. It came up in USC. It's probably still going to be up in USC. It's going to be whatever the next school is, and whatever the next school is. Urban Meyer, with everything that is surrounding that, and everything that he's proven, it's just astonishing to me that that in a system cloaked in amateurism that has been anything but amateurism since its inception, but has convinced so many people that it is amateurism, is now having to be laid so bare that they don't even care anymore. They truly don't. Now, I do urge every single one of you to do your own research and read the reports coming out of LSU. I don't know if you know what? Here's what I know. I know that before Ed Orgeron became the head coach at LSU, he was kind of a punchline. He was kind of a character almost within the coaching ranks. And then he gets to go to where he is. He gets to be this LSU swamp monster. Go Tigers! And from the reports coming out after what his actions are, after all the money and all the fame and whatnot floods into Louisiana, that small part of Louisiana when they win the national championship, to say that it went to his head, it's very okay to say, well, what head did it go to? Because he was, just a lot of actions just really can be chronicled under scumbag. Oh, sorry, I did it again. He was exhibiting actions that of a scumbag. I think I said it earlier. He went so far as to hit on a pregnant woman who was married to a man that was either within the LSU coaching ranks or within the LSU program, or he was a booster, and blatantly hits on her. She's pregnant. And it's just, and that's just one of the reports. Go read the reports in regard to girlfriends and their kids at practice. Wow. So to see such a stark fall from grace and from the greatest team there. Yeah, you know what? USC has an argument, but I'll say it: the greatest college football team that I have ever seen. Within 2 years, their coach is fired in a ball of fire. So it was Les Miles there first, and then we saw what he did in Lawrence, Kansas. Again, exhibiting actions that of a scumbag. And now it's Ed Orgeron, and there's always going to be more of a push for wins and more of a push for national championship than it is for doing the right thing. So, let's do some lines. So the first line that I wanted to take a look at here is Thursday Night Football. So the line opened at Cleveland -6 and it's now Cleveland minus 3.5 with 80% of the money on Cleveland. I've said this before in previous episodes. I really do like analyzing the spreads that have moved the most. That from the time they were opened to where they are now, how quickly the Sharks jumped on them and how quickly that it was moved. Now, I don't know what anyone has seen from Denver, especially in the Eastern time zone, over the last couple years, and let's just be real here. Their wins versus the Giants, the Jags, and the Jets made them look a lot better than they were. I was extremely shocked to see that the spread is only 3 and that it moved from 6. I just think when you look at the team from a team standpoint, I think that Cleveland is a much more well-rounded team. Now, when I do a deeper dive into the actual matchup here, I see that Denver is 11-3 against the spread in their last 14 games played on a Thursday. Jeez. And for those of you that do not know, this is going to be a fun fact for you. The number one quarterback against the spread in NFL history, I believe the minimum is 35 starts. The number one quarterback against the spread of all time, Teddy Bridgewater. And if that's not just a microcosm of sports and sports gambling, I don't know what is, because that is just mind-blowing. I keep on saying this. NFL does not stand for National Football League. It stands for not for long. And the Raiders were a very good case of that this weekend. I believe there were reports that 90% of the money was on the Broncos, because people thought, how in the hell could this team keep their heads in practice, yada yada yada. And I learned something that day. I had a very minimal amount on them, but I was of that thinking too. That I thought that the Raiders just had too much happening. They were coming on the road. Too many things aside from football were happening, and I guess, and maybe I learned something for the foreseeable future, is that these guys sometimes use the field as their sanctuary, as their way to tone everything out. And obviously it did. Speaking of that game, anybody see John's son, Deuce? Does Deuce Gruden always look like he's trying to hold in a deuce? Okay, the next game that I wanted to take a look at as well is Detroit versus the Rams. Now, the reason why this one is interesting is whenever there's a 2-touchdown favorite, when you see if you see a 3-point jump, kind of like what we saw this weekend too, which I'm going to be going over next. There's 2 games that started as 2 touchdown, and then they jumped to 3 possessions. As of right now, the line for Detroit at LA opened Rams minus 14, and it's going up to 17. It's right now it's at 16.5. I do not think that Jared Goff has enough to be in a position to say this is a revenge game. I also think that Matthew Stafford might have something to say about playing the franchise that obviously did not do a good enough job of putting people around him, because he's having an MVP year, and they are 5-1 and 4-2 against the spread. And so when you see a move like that, also interesting fact, the over/under is 50, and 70% of the money's on the under right now. So, okay, but oh boy. I know that the Rams are really good on defense, but total's gone over in 6 of their last 8. And that's because they are very good on offense now. And they're 4-1-1 to the over. They're 3-0 to the over at home, and 70% of the money is on the under. And so if you think 42 42-14, 42-10 is not out of the question when Rams offense averages 30. And it's not like Detroit's defense is giving up 30. So it's not like they're going to offer much restraint, if you will. So that's a very interesting move. I also see that 60% of the money is on the Rams as well. So, I think Rams in the over is a good lean. I also think the over is a good lean as well, just because, as I've always said, when you see a lopsided wagering on the public, there's a reason why there's those big casinos and hotels. I'm going to keep saying it. There's a reason why. Now, of course, yes, sometimes those do happen. But for the most part, point in case, Texas A&M, Alabama, 96% of the tickets were on Alabama. That's all you need to know. So, the other game, and I touched on this earlier, Houston is at Arizona. Arizona's 5-1 against the spread, 6-0 straight up. Houston just got pummeled 31-3 versus the Colts, and Arizona just beat a very good Cleveland team. They almost dropped 40 on them. So, for all intents and purposes, this shouldn't even be close. The line opened at 14. It's now at 17 with 65% of the money on Arizona. Over-under is 47.5 and 70% on the over. Arizona has sneaky been a very good defense. And their total defense is second. They're sixth in passing yards. They're 23rd in rushing, but Houston can't move the ball. It's a very lopsided game when it comes to the offenses. Now, I think what people are seeing here is that's a fine. Is that oh boy, that's a bad fine. Is that because Arizona has DeAndre Hopkins and they have J.J. Watt, $5, that they have an agenda. They have something in mind that they want to accomplish. Obviously, we all know what has happened in Houston, and so this could be them saying, "Hey guys, we can't really afford to look ahead to the Packers on Thursday night," which is just insane. That's what a game! Can't wait. And so they're gonna. This would be a time when maybe first quarter would be something to take a look at, that you'd think Arizona's gonna come out, they're gonna rip their ears off, and then they're gonna call off the dogs. That would be a good lean, I think. And I don't know how, after seeing Houston, that they can be a good lean anywhere. Arizona is not only very good, but they're pretty healthy overall, and they are on a roll right now, and they've beaten some really good teams. They crushed the Rams. Should have lost against Minnesota. They beat the Titans. So I like it. I think it's a good play to lean Arizona. In college, there was one game that I found super interesting in terms of where the line has went, and that is Kansas State at Texas Tech. It opened up as Texas Tech is a 2-point underdog at home, and it already crossed the threshold of Texas Tech now being favored by 1. So the Sharps moved that pretty fast. The last 3 times that these two teams have played, K-State's 3-0 against them, though. And so that's really tough for me to swallow. That's a tough one for me to go against. This one might have pass written all over it. Because, as I said, the last 3 games that these two teams have played, and all of this information I'm giving you is courtesy of my friends over at OddsShark. Not friends, would love to be friends, would love to be sponsored. No. Yeah, they would be my sponsor. Yeah, that would be something that would be really cool. OddsShark.com, they've got great information, they've got great insight. They also give you all the tools to do as much research as you want to do. Kansas State's 8-2 against the spread in their last 10 against Texas Tech. So that's obviously why they opened up as a favorite. Texas Tech, Texas dropped 70 on them. Kansas State, Texas dropped 69 on Texas. I'm sorry. So Texas scored 69 on Kansas State on December 5th of last year. Nice. And then when Texas Tech played Texas this year, they scored 70. So they have that in common. But at the end of the day, K-State has owned this team. And Texas Tech, Tyler Shaw's still out, but they just beat KU. Everybody beats KU. They lost to TCU. Man, I might take a second look at that because whenever I see a spread kind of cross the threshold of being either a pick'em or 3 points, my antennas tend to perk up a little bit. And so that's one of the things I might take a look at here too. I might do a little bit more research on that, but that one's interesting. The other one too that was very intriguing to me was Mississippi State and Vandy. Now, usually when we talk about Vanderbilt, it's usually not that good. Now they did cover, almost beat South Carolina last week, but this was an interesting move because Vanderbilt opened it as a 24-point underdog at home, and they immediately got moved to 21. And I don't see how that happened. The last 8 times that Mississippi State played Vandy, they're 7-1. They're 6-2 against the spread. The average score is 30-12. So I mean, I guess that is only 18 points. Maybe they're onto something. And as I've always said, if I ever look at something and I say, boy, someone must know something I don't, I trust that they do. I trust that they do. And Mississippi State just got 49-9 against Alabama. South Carolina had to eke one out against Vandy. But before that, I mean, Vandy only beat UConn by 2. And Mississippi State beat Texas. What? Mississippi State beat Texas A&M on October 2nd. This is why it's so much fun. So, thanks for tuning in to the Social Spreader on a Monday. I hope these opening lines, just going over them and seeing what they're doing and why they're moving is helpful. If you got any action tonight, good luck with your bets. Tomorrow, we're previewing the NBA season, and I am so excited. As I said, good luck with your bets.